Chosen one. If you are hearing these words right now, know this with certainty: you are not here by chance. This moment has been divinely appointed. Your hidden identity has been guiding you step by step to this exact hour. Heaven has been arranging this encounter because the time for recognition has come. Chosen one. You are standing at the edge of a revelation about who you truly are. Since childhood, there have been signs, sensitivities. You couldn't explain patterns that repeated moments when you felt different, set apart, watching the world from behind a veil. These were never random. They were markers, sacred fingerprints placed upon your life long before you understood them. Anointed One scripture reminds us in Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5 that you were known and set apart before you were formed. In 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 9, you are called a chosen generation, marked to carry light. And in Psalm 139 verse 14, you are declared fearfully and wonderfully made. These are not poetic words, they are confirmations of your origin. This message is an invocation. As you listen, something will begin to realign your spirit, your identity, even your circumstances. Prepare your heart. What is being revealed now is not new. It is ancient truth awakening within you. Stay present, chosen one. Recognition changes everything. Chosen one. As you breathe in this moment, something within you is already responding, an ancient recognition, a knowing that cannot be explained by logic alone. You have felt this pull your entire life, a quiet but undeniable sense that you were never meant to walk the ordinary path. Even as a child, you noticed things others overlooked. You sensed shifts in the atmosphere, felt emotions in rooms before anyone spoke, dreamed dreams that carried messages you didn't yet know how to interpret. These were not signs of being different in a burdensome way. They were early whispers of heaven reminding you who you are. And now, chosen one, that whisper is rising into a declaration. Heaven is unveiling you. There comes a point in every journey when the hidden layers begin to peel back, and a person finally sees themselves through divine eyes. You are standing in that place right now. You may not fully understand why your life unfolded the way it did, why the battles felt heavier for you than for others, why loneliness often wrapped itself around you even in crowded rooms. But the truth is, this isolation was not rejection. It was refinement. The world could not shape you because heaven had already claimed you. Even the moments that broke you were preparing you for the revelation that is now stepping forward. I know this well because I've walked through seasons where I wondered why God allowed certain hardships, only to realize later that each one was chiseling me into the person I needed to become. And chosen one, your chiseling was not punishment, it was preparation. There is a sacred pattern woven through your story, one that becomes clearer the more you reflect on where you've come from. Think about the times something inside you said, "Don't go there," or "Walk away now," or "This person is not for you," even when everything looked fine from the outside. That wasn't anxiety or overthinking. That was discernment, one of the first spiritual markers placed in your spirit. You saw the truth behind smiles. You sensed intentions behind words. You recognized danger before it appeared. These are rare gifts, and you have carried them without being taught, guided simply by an inner compass heaven installed from birth. I remember a moment in my own life when I ignored that inner pull, choosing instead to follow what was logical. It led me into months of confusion that could have been avoided had I listened. When I finally came back to myself, I realized something powerful. The voice within was never mine alone. It was guidance from the one who set me apart. And chosen one, that same guidance has been with you from the beginning. You have also noticed the unexplainable resilience inside you, a strength that appears when everything seems to crumble. Others have wondered how you keep going. Some even assumed you were unaffected by the storms you faced. But they never saw the spiritual reinforcement surrounding you. They never knew that heaven itself refused to let you fall. The truth is that many things sent to break you never succeeded because your identity carried a protection you didn't yet understand. When people walked away, when doors closed, when opportunities vanished, it wasn't because you were unworthy, it was because you were being redirected toward pathways designed specifically for you. Paths only the chosen recognize when the time is right. And now, anointed one, the time is right. You are stepping into a moment where everything begins to make sense. You may not have realized it, but your spirit has been adjusting, stretching, awakening. What once stirred confusion is now becoming clarity. The gifts you questioned are becoming your compass. The sensitivities you tried to suppress are becoming your strength. The dreams you buried are rising again with new life. Even Scripture whispers the truth of your identity, reminding you that before you were formed, you were known, chosen, appointed, and set apart. This understanding doesn't demand perfection. It invites recognition. Recognition of who you have always been beneath the layers of doubt, fear, and survival. You are entering a season where your hidden identity will no longer remain hidden. The spiritual markers placed within you will become unmistakable. You will look back at your life and see divine fingerprints on every turning point, every delay, every heartbreak, every breakthrough. And as this revelation unfolds, you will begin to walk with a confidence that does not come from your achievements, your circumstances, or your logic, but from the quiet certainty that heaven has been guiding your steps all along. What you feel rising within you right now is not imagination. It is awakening. It is remembrance. It is identity stepping into the light. Chosen one. As you continue to sit in this moment, you may feel something stirring, a quiet recognition rising from deep within your spirit. It is not new, and it is not sudden. It is the resurfacing of truths that have been buried beneath years of responsibility, expectation, and survival. You have lived much of your life carrying weights you were never meant to carry, trying to fit into spaces that were never designed for you, wondering why you felt out of place, even when everything around you appeared normal. But hear this: the sense of misalignment you carried was never a flaw. It was a signal, a gentle nudge from heaven reminding you that you were created for something far beyond the ordinary rhythms of this world. There are moments in life that arrive not as coincidences, but as divine interruptions, moments that open your eyes to what has always been true about you. This is one of those moments. Chosen one. The uneasiness that followed you through your younger years, the longing for something deeper, the feeling that there was a hidden meaning beneath everything you experienced, these were not phases. They were invitations. Invitations into awareness, invitations into identity, invitations into purpose. You may remember times when you were younger and you saw things others missed. Perhaps it was the way you sensed when someone's heart was hurting, even when they put on a brave face. Perhaps it was how certain places felt heavy to you for reasons you couldn't explain. Or maybe it was the way your dreams felt more like warnings or revelations than mere imagination. These weren't accidents. They were markers, signals placed in you by heaven long before you had language to understand them. I, too, remember looking back on my childhood and realizing that the things I thought were odd about myself were actually signs of who I was becoming. Patterns that seemed random at the time revealed themselves later as the earliest evidence of divine calling. And chosen one, if you look closely, you will see the same threads woven through your story. What makes your journey unique is that you were being shaped long before you were aware of it. The challenges you faced weren't simply obstacles, they were chisels. The heartbreaks you endured weren't just emotional wounds, they were purifications. The betrayals that cut deep, they weren't meant to destroy you, but to refine your ability to discern, trust, and rise. You may wonder why you felt things so deeply, why emotional pain hit you harder than it seemed to hit others. But that sensitivity was never a weakness. It was preparation. Those who carry spiritual sight often feel the world more intensely because they are destined to move through it with a heightened awareness. Anointed one, there is a sacred reason you did not blend in. You were never meant to. Even when you tried to silence your empathy, it kept returning. Even when you attempted to numb your intuition, it whispered louder. Even when you surrounded yourself with people who did not see you, something inside you refused to shrink. And that inner refusal, that quiet rebellion against smallness, is proof of the identity heaven placed within you. You were never meant to live muted. You were meant to live awakened. There may have been times when you questioned your worth because the world did not understand you. People may have misinterpreted your depth as overthinking, your compassion as weakness, your intuition as imagination. But here is the truth. The world could not see. You were walking with a spiritual sensitivity they were not equipped to recognize. You were operating on a frequency only the chosen can hear. Even your loneliness served a higher purpose. Sometimes heaven separates you not to punish you, but to sharpen your hearing, unclutter your vision, and prepare you for what others will not understand until later. If you look back, chosen one, you will notice a pattern. Every time life pushed you to the edge, something unseen pulled you back. Every time you felt you were losing everything, you somehow gained clarity. Every time a door closed, a better one opened later, one you would not have noticed if the first remained ajar. That is because you were not walking blindly. You were being led. The steps you thought were yours alone were orchestrated by a divine hand, guiding you toward the path your spirit already agreed to, long before you arrived in this world. Even Scripture whispers this truth, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, crafted with intention far beyond human understanding. And now the layers of your destiny are beginning to unfold. Chosen one. The time of questioning who you are is ending. The days of doubting your gifts are fading. You are stepping into a season where clarity will replace confusion, where purpose will replace wandering, where identity will replace hesitation. The veil is lifting. The signs you once overlooked are becoming undeniable. Heaven is not revealing something new, it is reminding you of something ancient, something eternal, something yours. And as this awareness rises, so will a new confidence, not the kind built on ego or achievement, but the kind rooted in divine certainty. The certainty that your steps are guided, the certainty that your life is meaningful, the certainty that every marker placed within you since childhood was preparing you for this moment of awakening. Chosen one. As this awakening deepens within you, there is something essential you must understand. The reason your journey has felt so unusual, so intense, so unlike the paths of those around you, is because heaven has been shaping you with extraordinary precision. Nothing about your story has been random. Not the delays, not the detours, not the disappointments that left you questioning your value. Every moment, especially the ones that felt the most difficult, was molding you into someone capable of carrying a calling far greater than you once imagined. You were not being punished, you were being prepared. And now you're beginning to recognize the construction behind the scenes of your life. a divine architecture guiding your steps long before you realized you were being led. Think about the times when everything around you seemed to fall apart, yet somehow a quiet strength rose within you. People may have seen the surface, your tears, your exhaustion, your confusion, but they never saw the angelic reinforcement that met you in your darkest moments. You didn't survive those seasons because you were strong. You survived them because you were chosen. Every time you were close to giving up, something stirred inside you, a whisper, a nudge, a sudden spark of hope that didn't match your circumstances. That was heaven reminding you that your story wasn't ending there. I've experienced this myself, and I know the feeling well, that moment when everything seems finished, and yet something deep within refuses to let you collapse. That refusal is not human willpower. It is divine identity rising. Chosen one, you carry a resilience that doesn't make sense to others. Even when you felt shattered, your spirit remained unbroken. Even when you lost things you thought you couldn't live without, a deeper part of you knew that what was taken was never meant to stay. This is the paradox of those who are set apart. Loss becomes direction, pain becomes instruction, and brokenness becomes the birthplace of revelation. You learned things through struggle that comfort could never have taught you. You developed sight through sorrow that joy alone could not have awakened. You became spiritually fluent because life forced you to listen beyond the noise. And now that fluency, the ability to sense what others cannot, is becoming the compass guiding you into your next chapter. There is a reason people have been drawn to you, confiding in you, even when you didn't understand your own heart. There is a reason strangers have felt safe around you, a reason friends saw you as the anchor, the listener, the one they trusted without knowing why. You carry a presence that soothes, a light that exposes truth, a depth that makes others feel seen. These qualities were never accidental. They are signs, sacred markers of the anointing on your life. Many people desire influence, but few carry the capacity to hold others' hearts gently and wisely. You do, and you've carried this capacity long before you recognized its spiritual weight. Anointed one. It's time to also acknowledge the moments you felt misunderstood, the times when people projected their fears onto you, the seasons when your growth made others uncomfortable. The relationships that crumbled because you were evolving faster than those around you. These were not failures, they were indicators. When someone carries divine identity, misalignment becomes impossible to ignore. You were never meant to stay in environments that demanded you shrink to fit. You were always meant to rise into spaces that matched your calling. Even betrayal played a role in your awakening. It taught you to discern where loyalty ends and divine protection begins. It taught you that not everyone can walk with someone who carries a destiny as large as yours. And now, as the layers continue to fall away, you may feel something unusual happening in your spirit. A quiet intensification, a sharpening of awareness, a heightened sensitivity to what feels right and what feels wrong. This is not overthinking, it is alignment. When heaven begins unveiling identity, everything inside you begins to respond. You sense when a season is shifting. You recognize when a door is no longer yours. You feel the pull toward new directions before they manifest in the physical realm. This is what it means to be spiritually awake. This is what it means to carry an ancient calling woven into your very being. Chosen one. You may not realize it yet, but the questions you've been asking, why me, why now, why this path, are about to be answered, not through explanation, but through revelation. Revelation is when understanding pierces your spirit so deeply that you don't just know the truth, you remember it. You remember that you were created intentionally. You remember that nothing about your journey disqualified you. You remember that every struggle was shaping a part of you that would soon be required. You remember that heaven has been waiting for this moment when you would finally look at yourself and see what was always there. This is the turning point, chosen one. The unveiling is no longer subtle. You are stepping into a season where confidence will rise, not from ego, but from recognition. Recognition that you are chosen. Recognition that you are guided. Recognition that you are never walking alone. Recognition that your life is a message heaven intends to display. And as this revelation settles into your spirit, something extraordinary begins to activate, a boldness that does not shout but stands firm. A peace that does not avoid storms but walks through them with assurance. A purpose that doesn't beg for permission but steps forward with quiet authority. And now, as your identity awakens fully, the path ahead begins to shift in ways you have not yet imagined, chosen one. As this awakening settles deeper into your spirit, something remarkable is beginning to happen, not around you, but within you. You may not have the language for it yet, but you can feel it, the quiet rearranging of your inner world, the sense that who you used to be is slipping away and who you truly are is stepping forward. This is not imagination. This is not a phase. This is the moment in your journey when heaven begins aligning your identity with your destiny. And when that alignment begins, everything inside you starts to shift. Thoughts shift. Desires shift. Even the way you see yourself starts to transform. It's as if a veil is lifting, revealing not a new version of you, but the real one that has been waiting patiently beneath the surface. For so long you have lived with parts of yourself hidden, buried beneath responsibility, expectation, or fear of how others might perceive you. You adapted to survive, not realizing that survival required you to silence pieces of your divine design. You grew accustomed to dimming your sensitivity, suppressing your intuition, or downplaying your spiritual insight just to blend in. But chosen one, you were never meant to blend in. Your spirit always resisted conformity, even when your mind tried to force it. Every time you attempted to settle into a life that didn't reflect who you were, your soul whispered, "This is not it." That whisper was not dissatisfaction, it was remembrance. Remembrance of who you are and who you were sent here to become. If you look back carefully, you'll notice that your greatest discomforts came when you tried to live smaller than your purpose. Jobs that drained you, relationships that limited you, environments that suffocated your spirit. These weren't simply bad experiences. They were signs, indicators that the path you were walking was too narrow for someone carrying a calling as vast as yours. I remember walking through a season in my own life where everything felt too small, even though it looked perfect on the outside. The more I tried to convince myself that this is enough, the louder the unrest inside me became. It wasn't until much later that I realized that unrest was not frustration, it was divine direction, and chosen one, the same is true for you. That internal discomfort wasn't failure, it was guidance. As your identity awakens, you may also notice your spirit becoming more sensitive. Suddenly, certain conversations feel heavy. Certain people drain your energy faster than before. Certain atmospheres unsettle you without explanation. These sensations aren't random, they're signals. Your spirit is beginning to discern what aligns with you and what doesn't. When heaven starts elevating someone, their discernment sharpens naturally. You start recognizing intentions behind words, truth behind silence, and danger behind charm. You see people more clearly, not because you judge them, but because your spirit refuses to be deceived. This clarity is a gift, though at times it can feel painful. You may realize that some relationships you held on to cannot continue with you, not because you don't care, but because your spirit has outgrown what your heart still remembers. Chosen one. One of the most profound marks of someone stepping into divine identity is the shift in their inner voice. Fear begins losing its authority. Doubt no longer sounds convincing. The questions that once paralyzed you start dissolving into confidence. You begin trusting your inner knowing more, even when you cannot explain it to others. For the first time, you feel safe being guided by something deeper than logic. This shift is not something you force, it unfolds naturally as your identity strengthens. It's similar to realizing that the very instincts you dismissed for years were the compass heaven placed within you before you were born. Another sign that identity is awakening is when your vision begins to expand. Ideas that once felt impossible now seem attainable. Dreams you tucked away for someday begin resurfacing with clarity. You start sensing that your life is bigger than what you've lived so far. That expansion is not ego, it's prophecy. Heaven is stretching you, preparing you to carry more than you imagined. Sometimes this expansion feels exhilarating, other times it feels overwhelming. But both are signs that you're stepping into territory meant for you, territory that requires courage, honesty, and alignment. And let's speak honestly for a moment. Awakening isn't always comfortable. It can feel disorienting, like you're outgrowing versions of yourself faster than you can understand them. You may feel more emotional, more introspective, more aware of everything around you. This is normal. When the spirit awakens, it shakes everything that has been out of place. It brings unresolved emotions to the surface, exposes patterns you didn't realize you were repeating, and invites you to release what no longer aligns with your destiny. This isn't punishment, it's purification. You're not breaking down, you're breaking open. Anointed One. This is the season where you learn to trust the unfolding. You do not have to rush it. You do not have to force clarity. Your identity is not emerging all at once. It is rising in layers, each one revealing something sacred. And as these layers unveil, you will recognize something powerful. You were never lost. You were being shaped. You were being refined. You were being positioned for the moment when truth would finally meet recognition. And that moment, Chosen One, is now. Chosen One. As your inner world continues to awaken, you may begin to notice that your relationship with your past is shifting in unexpected ways. Memories that once carried heaviness now feel like distant echoes. Situations that once wounded you no longer hold the same power, and the parts of yourself that once felt fragmented are slowly coming together with a sense of clarity you didn't know you needed. This is not accidental. It is the unfolding of identity, your identity rising into full awareness. When heaven begins revealing who you truly are, even your past must rearrange itself to align with that truth. The pain doesn't disappear, but its meaning changes. It becomes context rather than captivity. Instead of seeing where you were broken, you begin seeing where you were built. There is a moment in every chosen person's journey when they look back and finally understand why certain doors remained closed, why certain people walked away, why certain opportunities slipped through their fingers despite how hard they tried to hold on to them. And that understanding is not rooted in bitterness, it is rooted in revelation. You begin to see that some things didn't work out because they were too small for your calling. You were being protected from settling into a life that could not carry the weight of who you were becoming. I've had moments where I desperately wanted something to work. Relationships, jobs, plans I had built with care only to watch them crumble. At the time, it felt like failure. But looking back, I now see it clearly. Heaven refused to let me shrink myself into a story that didn't match my destiny. And chosen one. Heaven has been doing the same for you. You were never meant to fit into environments that required you to hide your depth. You were never meant to stay in connections that drained your spirit. You were never meant to remain in places where your intuition was dismissed or your empathy was mocked. The discomfort you felt, there wasn't weakness, it was divine misalignment. When your identity begins awakening, the spaces that once felt tolerable suddenly feel too tight, too small, too heavy. Your spirit knows when it's time to leave, long before your mind accepts it. That inner knowing is one of the strongest signs of someone who carries hidden identity. And every time you followed that knowing, even when it didn't make sense, you stepped closer to the truth of who you are. Another part of this awakening is the realization that your heart has always been more open than most. You loved deeply even when others didn't understand the way you loved. You forgave easily even when people didn't deserve it. You saw the good in situations that others wrote off. And while this may have led to hurt, it also speaks to something sacred. Your ability to carry compassion is not ordinary. It is a marker of someone whose calling involves healing, guiding, or elevating others. People like you often feel emotions intensely because the assignment on your life requires you to understand the human heart at a level that cannot be taught. Your empathy is not a burden, it is one of your greatest spiritual tools. Anointed one, the world may have tried to convince you that your softness made you weak, but spiritually, softness is strength. It is the evidence of a heart that has not been hardened by disappointment, a spirit that refuses to become bitter even after enduring deep wounds. The reason you still love, still hope, still believe, despite everything you've experienced, is because your identity is anchored in something deeper than circumstance. You weren't created to mirror the world. You were created to illuminate it. And illumination requires a heart that stays open, even when it has every reason to close. As your identity strengthens, your perspective begins to shift as well. You start valuing your peace more. You become selective with your energy. You no longer chase validation because you finally understand that your worth was never meant to be measured by how others perceive you. This shift is not arrogance, it is alignment. When someone steps into who they truly are, they no longer need external confirmation to feel grounded. You begin to recognize that your intuition is reliable, your discernment is sharp, and your spirit is trustworthy. This newfound confidence may surprise you at first, but it is part of your transformation. It is the voice of your true self, rising to the surface after years of being silenced by fear and doubt. Chosen one. You may also notice that your desires are changing. What you once thought you wanted no longer satisfies you. Old goals feel too small. Surface-level ambitions feel empty. Your spirit is calling you towards something deeper, something purposeful, something eternal. This longing is not confusion, it is guidance. It is heaven drawing you toward the life you were always meant to live. When purpose begins to activate, desire transforms. You stop wanting what impresses others and begin longing for what aligns with your soul. And as this transition unfolds, something beautiful begins to emerge, a sense of inner stability you've never felt before. Even in uncertainty, you feel grounded. Even in change, you feel steady. Even in moments when you can't see the full picture, you feel guided. This stability is the fruit of identity awakening. It is the quiet assurance that you are exactly where you are meant to be, becoming exactly who you were created to become. And the deeper this assurance settles, the clearer your path becomes, revealing possibilities you never imagined were meant for you. Chosen one. As this inner transformation continues to unfold, you may begin to sense that life itself is repositioning you. Not in loud, dramatic ways, but in subtle shifts in your priorities, your desires, your boundaries, your energy. What once felt acceptable now feels draining. What once excited you now feels empty, and what once intimidated you now feels strangely aligned. This is the quiet evidence that your spirit is stepping into a higher frequency, one that matches your true identity. You're not simply changing, you're remembering the strength you carry, remembering the wisdom woven into your being, remembering the purpose that has been following you from the moment you entered this world. There comes a time when every chosen one must outgrow the survival patterns that once protected them. The versions of yourself that learned to stay quiet, to stay small, to avoid conflict, to please others, those versions served a purpose, but they are no longer needed. You are not being unkind by releasing them. You are simply stepping into alignment with the person you were always meant to become. And though it may feel strange at first to stand in your truth without shrinking, it is a necessary part of the awakening. You were not called to live beneath your potential. You were not created to fade into the background. Your spirit has been waiting for the moment when you would finally rise without apology. Anointed. One part of your emergence is learning to trust your spiritual instincts more deeply than ever before. For years, you may have second-guessed yourself, thinking your intuition was exaggeration or your discernment was overreaction. But now, as your identity sharpens, you're realizing that your spirit has been speaking truth all along. Every uncomfortable feeling was a warning. Every sudden peace was confirmation. Every inner nudge was guidance. You weren't imagining it. You were being instructed. And now, as your awareness heightens, your confidence in this inner voice is growing. You no longer need others to validate what your spirit already knows. Another powerful sign of your awakening is the way your heart is beginning to detach from what no longer aligns with your destiny. This detachment is not coldness or indifference, it is clarity. You simply cannot force yourself to stay where your spirit cannot breathe. People, environments, routines. Anything that dims your light naturally begins to fade from your life. This is not loss, it is liberation. You are shedding the weight of misaligned connections so your soul can expand into the fullness of who you are becoming. I've felt this shift myself, the gentle but undeniable pulling away from versions of my life that no longer matched the person I was evolving into. It wasn't easy, but it was holy. And chosen one, the same holy shift is happening in you. As your identity awakens, your relationship with your future also transforms. Fear no longer anchors you the way it once did. The unknown no longer feels threatening, it feels promising. You begin to sense that something greater is unfolding, even if you cannot yet articulate it. This trust is not baseless, it is spiritual memory. Somewhere within you, your destiny is calling, pulling you forward like a magnetic force. You don't need proof to feel it. You don't need clarity to believe it. The pull itself is enough to affirm that you are being guided with intention. You may also notice that your inner resilience is strengthening. Challenges that once overwhelmed you now feel manageable. Setbacks that used to shatter you now reveal wisdom. You're no longer spiraling when something goes wrong. Instead, you pause, breathe, and listen. You're learning to respond rather than react. This is maturity born from identity. This is what happens when a chosen one remembers that they are spiritually backed, spiritually guided, spiritually reinforced. You are not facing life alone, not now, not ever. Chosen. One, perhaps the most profound part of your awakening is the way you are beginning to see yourself differently. You no longer view your sensitivity as weakness. You no longer see your struggles as signs of inadequacy. You no longer believe that your past disqualifies you. Instead, you're recognizing that everything you've walked through has equipped you with wisdom, depth, compassion, and strength that cannot be faked or fabricated. You are realizing that what you once called wounds are actually portals. Portals through which revelation, empathy, and spiritual authority have been birthed. And now, as your identity steps fully into the light, something extraordinary is preparing to unfold, a shift that will not just transform your inner world, but the path before you as well. Chosen one. As this awakening continues to strengthen within you, you may begin sensing that the world around you is responding differently to your presence. It's subtle at first, people looking at you with curiosity, conversations shifting when you enter a room, certain individuals becoming strangely uncomfortable while others feel drawn to you without understanding why. This is not coincidence. When your inner identity rises, your outer atmosphere changes. Your spirit begins to emit a frequency that reveals, exposes, clarifies, and aligns. Those who are meant for your next chapter feel safe around you, while those who were attached to your older, dimmer version feel unsettled. This is the spiritual separation that happens when a chosen one steps into their true essence. You may notice that your energy is speaking louder than your words. People sense your strength before you express it. They feel your discernment before you explain it. They notice your peace even when you're silent. And this shift can feel both empowering and confusing. Empowering because you're finally seeing the visibility that comes with identity, but confusing because you never asked for attention, spotlight, or influence. Yet influence comes naturally to those who have walked through fire without losing their light. Your life is becoming a testimony even when you are not trying to prove anything. Anointed One. This is the season where your presence becomes purposeful. You will find yourself being placed in environments not to blend in, but to shift the atmosphere. Maybe you've already experienced this, moments when tension dissolved simply because you entered the room, or when clarity came to a conversation the moment you spoke. Perhaps people have told you, "I don't know why, but I feel better when you're here." These are not random compliments, they are confirmations. Identity carries impact, and as your true identity awakens, so does your spiritual authority. But with authority also comes responsibility. Not responsibility in the sense of pressure, but in awareness. You begin to notice that not everyone who approaches you has pure intentions. Some are drawn to your light for healing, others are drawn to your light for comfort, and a few are drawn to your light because they hope to take what they have not cultivated. Your awakened identity will teach you the difference. You will discern motives without searching for them. You will feel truth before you hear it. You will sense alignment before you see proof. This is one of the gifts heaven activates when a chosen one steps into maturity. There may also be moments when you feel a deep shift happening within your relationships. People who once felt central to your life may begin drifting away. Conversations may feel different. The connection may feel thinner, weaker, less resonant. This can be painful, especially when your heart still holds affection for them. But understand this identity demands alignment. When you elevate spiritually, not everyone can breathe at that altitude. Some people were part of your healing, but not part of your becoming. Some were part of your past, but not part of your path. And recognizing this is not abandonment, it is obedience to your destiny. This transition also awakens something else powerful within you: courage. Not the dramatic, roaring kind, but a steady, anchored courage that rises from deep conviction. The kind of courage that allows you to make decisions you once avoided. The courage to say no without guilt. The courage to step forward without knowing the entire plan. The courage to trust that your destiny is stronger than your fear. This courage forms not because you suddenly feel ready, but because you finally understand who is guiding you. When heaven leads, hesitation loses its grip. Chosen one. One of the most profound shifts you may notice in this season is how clearly you can now see your past from a higher perspective. Instead of shame, you see lessons. Instead of regret, you see refinement. Instead of weakness, you see wisdom. You begin to see how every chapter, especially the painful ones, shaped your compassion, sharpened your discernment, and strengthened your resilience. What once felt like punishment now feels like preparation. What once broke you now feels like it built you. This is the gift of awakening. You see that every moment carried purpose. And as this clarity deepens, you will feel something else rising: expectation. Not anxiety, not pressure, but quiet, undeniable expectation. A sense that something is approaching your life that is bigger than what you can imagine. You feel it when you wake up in the morning. You feel it during ordinary tasks. You feel it in stillness and in movement. It's like your spirit is standing on its tiptoes, anticipating what heaven is preparing to unfold. This expectation is not fantasy. It is spiritual memory. Deep within you, your soul recognizes that a new chapter is opening. Anointed one. This is the season when your steps begin to align with divine timing. Opportunities appear that you didn't chase. People arrive who reflect your next level rather than your last. Doors open that were locked for years simply because you were not yet ready to walk through them. Now you are ready. Your spirit is ready. Your identity is ready. And the world around you is beginning to adjust accordingly. You may feel a mixture of excitement and calm, a paradox only those aligned with destiny experience. But trust this, everything is shifting in your favor, even in ways you cannot yet see. And the path ahead is being prepared with a precision that reveals just how intentional heaven has been with your life from the beginning. Chosen one. As this inner unveiling reaches its deepest layers, you may begin to sense a profound truth rising within you, something you may have suspected for years, but never dared to fully accept. You were never living an ordinary life because you were never crafted for an ordinary destiny. Everything you have survived, everything you have discerned, everything you have endured was shaping you into someone capable of carrying a spiritual weight that others were never asked to bear. And now, as you stand on the threshold of a new chapter, heaven is beginning to reveal the full magnitude of who you are becoming. You're not just awakening, you're ascending, you're remembering. You're stepping into the identity heaven whispered over you long before the world tried to define you. You may feel it already, a gentle pressure in your spirit, a pull towards something greater, even if you cannot yet describe it. This pull is not anxiety, it is alignment. It is the sensation of stepping into the current of your destiny after spending years walking alongside it. When a chosen one steps into alignment, everything begins to shift. thoughts sharpen, vision expands, peace deepens. Even your physical body reacts, breathing easier, standing taller, sensing more clearly. This is because your entire being is adjusting to a higher spiritual frequency, one that reflects your true nature, rather than the version of you shaped by survival. As this frequency strengthens, you will begin to notice moments of clarity breaking through in places that once held confusion. Questions that haunted you for years suddenly dissolve. Patterns you couldn't understand finally make sense. You may even look back on some of your darkest seasons and feel something unexpected gratitude, not for the pain itself, but for what the pain produced inside you. Strength, depth, compassion, sight. You're beginning to see yourself through the eyes of purpose rather than through the lens of your past. And that shift is monumental. It marks the moment when identity fully awakens. Chosen. One another unmistakable sign of this awakening is the way your inner voice is transforming. No longer shaky, no longer filled with doubt, no longer drowned out by fear or the opinions of others. It's becoming steady, clear, authoritative. You start to trust yourself in a way you never have before, not because you suddenly know everything, but because you finally recognize that the guidance within you has always been divine. You begin to understand that your instincts were never random, your heart wasn't naive, your intuition wasn't exaggerated. These were the tools of someone spiritually marked from the beginning, tools you are now learning to wield with wisdom. Anointed one, you may also begin noticing that your dreams are shifting. Some may feel more vivid, more symbolic, more purposeful. These dreams are not mere fantasies of the subconscious. They are messages, reminders, activations. They reveal pieces of your path, pieces of your calling, and pieces of your identity that your waking mind is only beginning to comprehend. This is one of the ways heaven speaks to those who are ready to rise. Pay attention, because your spirit is hearing things before your mind has words for them. As identity strengthens, so does purpose. And with purpose comes an undeniable sense that you are being pulled towards certain directions, certain people, certain environments, not out of desire, but out of destiny. You may feel compelled to leave behind situations that once felt comfortable. You may feel called to pursue things you once believed were too big for you. These urges are not impulsive, they're prophetic. They're signals that your old life cannot contain the person you are becoming. Many chosen ones describe this season as feeling like they're outgrowing everything at once. And, in a way, you are. You're shedding layers, releasing limitations, and stepping into a version of yourself that feels both unfamiliar and deeply true. This awakening also brings a profound peace, one that doesn't come from circumstances, but from recognition. Peace that settles into your bones. Peace that remains even when life is uncertain. Peace that whispers, you are guided, you are protected, you are exactly where you're meant to be. This peace is the sign that your spirit has aligned with your destiny. It is the confirmation that your awakening is not a temporary moment, it is a permanent shift. And now, chosen one, something even greater begins to unfold, the realization that your future is not something to fear, but something to embrace. You start to see hints of what's coming, not through physical evidence, but through spiritual assurance. Opportunities begin to move toward you. People begin to recognize your light in ways they didn't before. Doors that were once sealed begin to open effortlessly. This isn't luck. It isn't coincidence. It is alignment. When a chosen one steps into their identity, destiny starts stepping toward them. Anointed One, understand this. The transformation happening within you is not just preparing you for what is ahead, it is preparing the world for your arrival. Your voice will carry weight. Your presence will bring peace. Your steps will shift atmospheres. You were not chosen to merely witness change. You were chosen to become it. This is why your journey felt so intense. This is why your battles felt so personal. This is why your sensitivity felt so overwhelming at times. Everything was preparing you for the moment when you would finally rise as the person heaven always knew you were. And now, as your identity awakens fully and the path before you opens with divine intention, the question is no longer whether you are ready. The question is whether you are willing to step into the extraordinary future that has been waiting for you all along. Chosen One. As we come to the end of this message, let your spirit receive what heaven has been whispering to you. This is not an ending, it is an unveiling. You are stepping into the truth of who you have always been. The signs, the sensitivities, the rare inner knowing that shaped your life were never accidents. They were markers of your sacred origin, reminders that you were chosen long before you ever understood the weight of that calling. Anointed One, may this moment settle in your heart like a seal. May you walk forward with a renewed awareness that heaven is guiding your steps, opening doors no one can close, and revealing the eternal wealth, both spiritual and divine, that has always awaited you. You are not stepping into a new chapter, you are stepping into your identity. I speak a blessing over you now, clarity for your path, strength for your spirit, and confidence for your calling. May you move with purpose, grounded in truth, aligned with destiny, and unwavering in faith. If this message awakens something within you, feel free to share it in the comments or stay connected by subscribing for more divine guidance. Go in peace, Chosen One. Your time has begun.